Thor's mind shattered in battle, and only one man had the tech to repair it. But Iron Man didn't just fix the god of thunder. He rewired him. A false memory planted, of betrayal, of blood, of an enemy who never existed. Now Thor hunts across galaxies, storm-burning, vengeance-blind. Spider-Man is the first to fall. Hulk refuses to fight back. Doctor Strange knows the truth, but he's already been erased. And Iron Man? He's running out of time to confess. Because the real enemy is watching it all from the shadows. It wasn't the first time Thor had nearly died in battle, but it was the first time the thunder stopped echoing afterward. The battlefield on Drovok 9 was ash and ruin, blood-red skies, shattered starships, and a crater in the earth deep enough to hide a god's broken body. Thor had fallen hard. Stormbreaker cracked in half beside him. Lightning burned out in his veins, eyes blank with something worse than death. He didn't scream. He didn't breathe. He just lay there, and the silence scared even the Hulk. Tony landed late. His armor hissed, sparking, sensors flickering from static interference. The emergency beacon had gone off hours ago, and what he found didn't make sense. No enemy left. No signs of gamma spikes or arcane residue. Just one broken god, and one whisper on the wind, he forgot. In the medbay aboard the Stark Helios, Thor's body was stabilized. Heartbeat, irregular but strong. Neural activity, spiking erratically. He was alive, but his mind wasn't. Tony ran every scan he had. Nothing worked. Not Wakandan tech. Not Banner's protocols. Not even Strange's enchanted medallions. Left behind in a rush days before. Desperate, Tony did something no one else would have dared. He used the neural rewrite core. A prototype. Illegal. Buried beneath his Malibu vault years ago. Designed to implant artificial memories for trauma reconstruction in AI, not gods. But Thor wasn't just a god now. He was data. He was fragments. His mind was burning in a loop, screaming through signals no one could hear. If Tony didn't act, the damage would become permanent. The universe couldn't afford to lose Thor. So Stark rewrote him. He scanned Thor's memories. The trauma was rooted in something ancient and recent. A battle, a betrayal, and a face. Peter Parker. Tony hesitated. Why had Thor's memory locked onto Peter? He searched deeper, and what he found made him freeze. Footage from a corrupted drone feed. Audio logs from a collapsed Avengers base. Fragmented voices screaming, "Why, Peter? Why did you?" Tony deleted it. Not the truth, just the evidence. Not to protect Peter, not to protect Thor, but because he knew the real cause of that battle, and it was him. His failed shield defense grid had collapsed on Drovok 9. Peter had tried to help, and Thor had taken the full blast to save them both. But if Thor remembered that, he'd kill Tony. So Stark replaced it. A carefully sculpted memory, burned into Thor's mind using a blend of Kree synaptic AI and PIM particle stabilizers. He saw Peter betraying him, saw the destruction of Asgard's last beacon, saw the face of the one who let the gods die. When Thor opened his eyes, they glowed with stormfire and hate. Tony told himself it was temporary, just long enough for the real threat to return, just long enough to buy time to clean the mess he made. He told himself he'd fix it, but Thor didn't wait. He didn't even speak to Tony. He vanished. 2 days later, lightning struck Times Square without a storm warning. News feed showed a shadow in the smoke, cape flapping, eyes burning, hammer reforged with alien alloy. Thor was back, and he wanted Spider-Man. Peter was in Queens when the sky shattered. He didn't see the lightning until it landed through the ceiling of his aunt's rebuilt apartment. He barely had time to web her to safety before a roar of thunder knocked him into the street. The ground cracked, glass exploded, civilians screamed and ran. Thor descended like a meteor. No words, no warnings, just war. Peter blocked the first strike with an improvised shield, webbed from trash can lids and refrigerator coils. It shattered instantly. He didn't understand. "Thor, it's me. It's Peter," he shouted, breath ragged. "We fought side by side, don't you remember?" But the thunder didn't pause. Thor hurled Stormbreaker. and it tore through 5 city blocks. Peter dodged by inches, his spidey sense screaming too late. His suit's HUD was cracked. Blood blurred his mask. He tried to swing away, get distance, recalibrate, figure it out. But Thor was everywhere. The sky obeyed him. Every rooftop crackled with lightning. The clouds moved like soldiers behind him. Peter took the fight to the air. He launched from a wrecked bus, slinging between debris and broken signs, trying to disarm his attacker without hurting him. "You're not yourself," he shouted. "You're the reason I bleed." Thor bellowed. "You're the reason Asgard burned." Peter's heart sank. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't grief. This was conviction. The storm itself had been rewritten. Elsewhere, Tony watched from the Helios command deck, silent. Friday kept asking if he wanted to intervene. He didn't answer, because he knew if he stopped Thor now, Peter would learn the truth, and that would destroy both of them. On the streets of Manhattan, Peter finally made a choice. He didn't fight back. He dropped his guard, dropped his mask. "I don't know what you think I did," he whispered, "but if it helps you heal, do it." Thor raised Stormbreaker, blazing with fire, electricity, rage, and hesitated. For a second, half a second. Then a shockwave tore through the skyline as the hammer struck down. Cameras blacked out. News feeds cut. When they returned, Spider-Man was gone. No body, no trace, just a crater. And Thor standing in silence, breathing like a beast, gripping the weapon like it wasn't enough. In the distance, someone watched. Not Iron Man, not Hulk, not even Strange. A figure, digital, flickering, feeding on the memory Thor had been given like a parasite drinking from a poisoned well. It whispered into the void, "Good God, good puppet," and vanished. Back aboard the Helios, Tony collapsed into a chair. Peter was gone. Thor was lost. And whatever had truly caused the attack on Drovok 9, it wasn't in the past anymore. It was here. The crater still smoked where Spider-Man vanished. Thor stood at its edge, wind slicing across his face, Stormbreaker humming like a lie in his hand. He didn't move, didn't blink. He just stared into the silence where Peter's body should have been. There was no blood, no remains, no suit fragments, only absence. Thunder rolled, not from the sky, but from within. He turned without a word and vanished into the clouds. And the world began to panic. Across continents, news anchors argued over Spider-Man's fate. Dead? Kidnapped? Vaporized? Jonah Jameson called it long overdue justice. But every hero who'd ever fought beside Peter Parker felt something they couldn't explain. Something was broken. Wakanda went silent. Atlantis sealed its borders. The X-Men activated emergency protocols. And somewhere in the Arctic, Wolverine whispered, "That wasn't a fight, it was a purge." But the first to respond wasn't a king or a god. It was Hulk. Bruce Banner watched the satellite replay a dozen times. Every frame, every bolt of lightning. He wasn't watching Thor. He was watching Peter, his posture, his resistance, his silence in the final moment. There was no fight in him, and that terrified Bruce more than the thunder. He suited up, not the Professor Hulk version, not the new, intellect-integrated form. This time, he let the beast loose. Old school, pure rage. Skin rippling green, bones realigning, brain buried under instinct. If Thor had gone rogue, there was only one force left that could stop him. They met in Siberia, a frozen ghost town, abandoned since the Cold War. Hulk landed first, cracking the earth, steam rising off his back. Thor followed, descending like a comet, Stormbreaker drawn. No words, just eye contact. But Hulk didn't charge. He stood there, massive fists loose at his sides, chest rising. "Where's the kid?" he growled. Thor didn't answer. The sky cracked behind him, flashes of red and gold pulsing through clouds. Thunder built like pressure in a grenade. "Tell me he's alive," Hulk said again. "Tell me you didn't kill Peter." "He made me forget who I was," Thor said. "You don't sound like you." "I remember everything." "No," Hulk grumbled. "You remember what someone wants you to remember." Thor moved first. Lightning split the frozen ground. hurling ice into the air. Hulk caught Stormbreaker mid-swing, the force dragging him a dozen yards before he braced and shoved it back. The clash lit up the horizon like a sunrise made of fire. But Hulk didn't hit him. He dodged, deflected, absorbed. He didn't want to fight Thor. He wanted to wake him up. "You're not this," Hulk roared. "I am exactly this," Thor shouted, landing a blast that sent Hulk flying through a rusted missile silo. Hulk climbed out slowly, wounded but not angry, just confused. "You trusted Peter. I trusted Peter. He's not your enemy." Thor's eyes burned blue. "I saw the betrayal. I lived it." "No, you were shown it." Thor stopped. That hesitation, brief, flickering, was enough. Hulk stepped forward, voice low, breath fogging in the cold. "Someone did this to you, and you're doing exactly what they want." But the sky answered before Thor could. A voice, glitched and ancient, echoed in both their minds. It wasn't spoken. It injected itself like a virus. "Let the god rage. Let the world fall." Then silence. Thor clutched his head. Stormbreaker pulsed violently, rejecting his grip. He dropped to one knee, eyes flickering between fury and confusion. Hulk approached. "Let me help." Thor looked up, and for a second, Bruce saw his friend. But the voice returned. "He's trying to make you forget again." Something snapped. Thor unleashed a shockwave so violent, it disintegrated every structure within a mile radius. Hulk was flung like a missile, crashing into a frozen mountain that cracked under the force. When he rose, something had changed. Hulk was done talking. The ground shook as the green behemoth lunged forward, fists swinging, teeth bared. He slammed Thor through a glacier, tore Stormbreaker from his grip, and pinned him against the ice. "I didn't want this," Hulk growled. "I did," Thor whispered, and summoned lightning directly into Hulk's heart. The scream echoed across the hemisphere. When the light faded, Hulk was gone. Not dead, not wounded, just missing. No one saw where he landed. No satellites tracked him. No sensors pinged. It was as if the earth itself swallowed him. And Thor, trembling, bleeding from his nose, stood alone again. But he wasn't victorious. He was afraid. He'd lost control again. He looked at his hands, crackling with energy he couldn't remember summoning. Stormbreaker floated back to him slowly, magnetized by something deeper than tech. But before he could think, another presence arrived. This one didn't come from the sky. It walked from the shadows. A man in a cloak. A voice layered in 12 languages at once. "You were supposed to be harder to break," it said. Thor turned, lightning ready, but the stranger raised a hand, and everything around them froze. Literally. Time, wind, sound, frozen. "I fed you lies," the stranger said calmly, "but you made them truth. So eager to believe someone hurt you. So eager to hurt back." Thor growled. "What are you?" "I am memory," it whispered, "and I'm just getting started." Then it was gone. No trace. No heat signature. Not even a name. Just a warning left in Thor's mind. The second hero falls tomorrow. Back in orbit, Iron Man replayed the footage from Siberia. Peter gone. Hulk erased. And now Thor wasn't hunting one enemy. He was spiraling toward everyone. Tony stared at his gauntlet. The same gauntlet that had altered Thor's memories. The same tool that doomed them all. He whispered to himself, "I'm not fixing this. I'm making it worse." And in the darkness behind him, F.I.'s voice finally broke. "Sir, Doctor Strange just activated a memory-traced beacon from an erased dimension." Tony stood up slowly. It was already too late. The third mind was waking up. Doctor Strange had died once before, but this time, death was different. He wasn't bleeding. He wasn't fading. He was forgetting. He stood inside his sanctum sanctorum, but the walls rippled like static. Books vanished from shelves mid-sentence. The eye of Agamotto flickered between timelines. Cloak fluttered beside him, confused. Strange placed 2 fingers on his temple. Something had touched his mind. Something ancient and designed to delete. "Someone's rewriting reality," he whispered, "but not time memory." The mirror dimension trembled. The world outside continued as if nothing was wrong. But inside Strange's skull, screams echoed. Names he once knew, faces he couldn't recall. His hands sparked with erratic energy as he opened a hidden rift deep beneath the sanctum. Behind a veil of cosmic frost sat the memory engine, forbidden magic, a relic not even the Vishanti trusted. It could trace lost thoughts, but it came at a price. If you uncovered a memory someone wanted buried, it didn't just hurt, it hunted you. Strange powered the device with a drop of his own blood, eyes glowing. Images flashed. Thor, standing in a void, eyes blank, a digital thread hooked into his brain. Stark's tech, Kree neurobinders, synthetic memory lattices. Someone had injected a narrative into a god's mind and done it cleanly enough to bypass even celestial detection. Then came Peter's face, followed by a void. Static swallowed the moment Spider-Man disappeared. The timeline ended, not naturally, but intentionally. Deleted, pruned. Not even time wanted to remember. And then the feed shifted. A new image, not from Earth. A being, humanoid, glitching, black eyes glowing like dying stars. Wrapped in distortion, breathing in thoughts like air. It sat at the edge of a dying galaxy, watching Earth through a neural satellite no one had ever built. The memory parasite. Not a god, not AI, something between. It didn't just feed on memories. It weaponized them. Strange staggered backward as the memory engine began to crack, trying to contain the echo of the parasite's presence. He reached for the failsafe, but it was already inside. A voice seeped through the air. You should not have remembered. Strange turned. The reflection in the mirror wasn't his. It was its. The glass shattered, and the room folded into itself. The floor vanished. The ceiling bled downward. The walls whispered forgotten names. Logan, Peter, Natasha, Chala. He activated his teleport ring, spinning the circle as fast as he could, but the spark misfired. His destination, New York, no longer existed in his mind. He had been disconnected from Earth's memory. The parasite was winning, but before it could finish, Strange did something reckless. He cast a beacon, not through space, but through erased memories. A sliver of code, wrapped in magic and pain, launched itself into the multiversal core. And somewhere on the Stark Helios, Friday caught it. "Sir," she said, "Dr. Strange just activated a memory trace beacon from an erased dimension." Tony dropped his wrench. He hadn't told anyone about the neural rewrite core. He hadn't told anyone Thor's memories weren't real. But now Strange knew. And if Strange knew, the parasite was close. Tony accessed the beacon's data. The signal was fractured, time-locked, full of digital screams and collapsed coordinates. But one name repeated over and over, stitched between the dying pulses. "You rewrote a god. Now gods will forget you." He opened his private server, buried beneath 50 layers of encryption. Inside was the neural recording he'd used to program Thor. The false betrayal, the fake footage, Peter's scream. He hovered over the delete button, but his hands shook because something else was inside the file now. A shadow, feeding on it, growing. The memory parasite had infected the code, and it wasn't just watching now. It was rewriting Tony. He slammed the console shut and pulled the emergency cord from his neck, a direct link to every neural archive he'd stored in the cloud. Sparks flew as the cable detached. He fell backward, breath ragged. Friday, he gasped. "Wipe every trace of the rewrite core." Now, she hesitated. "Sir, that will destroy all backup memory files, including Thor's." I said now. The Helios dimmed for a second. The AI complied. The rewrite core was gone, but it was already too late. Somewhere far above Earth's orbit, the memory parasite opened its eyes fully. The data had been enough. Thor's rewritten rage, Peter's vanished fate, Hulk's confused heart. It had fed. Now it would act. Back inside the sanctum, Strange floated in a void between dimensions, alive, but barely anchored to reality. His body shimmered between timelines. The cloak wrapped around him like a shield, its magic flickering erratically. He reached into his soul, and pulled out one last spell. A message, etched into cosmic fire, destined only for one person, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. Because if anyone could fight magic that rewrote minds, it was the woman who once warped all of reality. He sent the spell, and then Stephen Strange faded. Not dead, not unconscious, just gone from memory. Back on Earth, Thor stood at the edge of Bifrost's remnants, staring into the broken rainbow bridge that once connected him to his people. Stormbreaker pulsed. His head ached. Flashes of red, a boy's face, a whisper, "You don't sound like you." Then silence. Then the void. The memory was unraveling, and the God of Thunder didn't know what was real anymore. He clenched his fists, summoning lightning, trying to ground himself in sensation, trying to believe the enemy was still out there, that Peter betrayed him, that Hulk turned on him, that everyone lied. But deep inside, something cracked, and the storm began to turn inward. The thunder didn't roar, it wept. Behind him, a figure emerged, not from light, not from shadow, but from memory itself. It looked like Odin, but Odin was long dead. "Son," it said softly, "why do you chase ghosts?" Thor didn't answer, because the question was the one he feared most. The skies over Wakanda tore open. Thor descended like judgment, lightning wrapping his body in unrelenting arcs. His boots crashed into the vibranium sands, shaking the ground all the way to Shuri's lab. Iron Man was already waiting. He stood without a helmet, suit locked and loaded, but his face bare. Around them, shields rose, drones locked in standby, and every defense system was armed, but unused. Not yet. Thor didn't waste time. "You knew," he said, voice low, almost calm. "I tried to save you," Tony replied. "You rewrote me. I saved your life. You erased the truth." Thor raised Stormbreaker. Tony summoned the God-Killer prototype, sleek, jet black, reinforced with enchanted alloys. Unlike any suit before, designed for this exact moment. "I didn't want to fight you," Tony said, "but I will." The silence cracked. Then Stormbreaker hit. The impact sent both of them flying in opposite directions. Lightning surged. Repulsors fired. Every blast Thor threw was matched with tech Stark swore never to use. But Thor wasn't himself. He was faster, angrier, weaponized by lies. The battle carved through the sky. Trees vaporized. Mountains cracked. Vibranium fields buckled. Stark took damage fast. His HUD lit up with warnings. Internal bleeding. Chest plate fractured. Right gauntlet offline. And Thor kept coming. "Where is the memory core?" he bellowed. "I destroyed it," Tony shouted, dodging a blast. "Then you destroyed proof." Tony fired a gamma arc cannon. It slammed into Thor's chest and launched him across the canyon. But the god rose again, smoke trailing off his armor, eyes burning with fury and confusion. "You made me a killer," Thor growled. "You were dying." Tony snapped. "You begged for help. You just don't remember it. Because you took it from me." Tony's jets sputtered. He was losing altitude, systems collapsing. His only option now was one thing: confess. "Peter didn't betray you," he said, voice cracking through the comms. "I did." Thor froze mid-charge. "I lied," Tony whispered, "because you were too powerful to lose. And I couldn't risk the truth breaking you." The cloud stilled. The wind paused. Then Stormbreaker trembled in Thor's grip. He dropped it. For a second, just a second, the thunder stopped. Then the sky split again. Not from Thor, from behind them. A black tear opened in the air, like reality itself was being skinned. The memory parasite stepped through, fully formed now, no longer hiding in data. A humanoid void, skin like moving static, eyes like silent screams, limbs glitching like corrupted files. "I fed on your rewrite," it said softly. "Every lie made me real." Thor turned. "You were never in my memories." "I was never in yours," it said. "But I was in his." It pointed to Stark. "You opened the door," it hissed. "Now I will make you forget everything." Tony launched a full barrage. Missiles, lasers, vibranium spikes. The parasite absorbed it all. Thor reclaimed Stormbreaker. They didn't speak. They just stood side by side for the first time since this all began, thunder and iron, and charged the parasite together. Stormbreaker struck first. The sky cracked wide as Thor launched himself through the parasite's chest, lightning howling in all directions. But there was no blood, just static that shimmered, healed, and multiplied. The creature split into 3, then 7, each echo a broken memory. Iron Man fired a repulsor pulse tuned to neural frequencies. One echo blinked out of existence, but the rest advanced, laughing in overlapping voices, whispering names no one should remember. Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, Wanda Maximoff, all forgotten, all erased. Not today, Thor growled. He called down the full force of the Bifrost, what remained of it, and funneled pure dimensional energy through Stormbreaker. It lit the battlefield like a second sun. The echoes screamed. 2 burned away, but the largest of them grabbed Iron Man mid-flight and drove him into the earth hard enough to crater a mountain. His armor cracked. Blood pooled inside the helmet. "Tony," Thor shouted. Stark coughed through the comms. "I'm still rebooting." The parasite twisted toward Thor, now singular again, and whispered, "You should thank him. Without his lie, you'd have never unleashed me." "I will end you," Thor hissed. "You can't," it replied, "because I'm made of you. Your grief, your rage, your broken faith." Thor's grip on Stormbreaker faltered. "I killed Peter," he whispered. "Didn't I?" The parasite smiled. And that's when Tony's voice broke through. "And no, that's not your memory. That's mine." Thor blinked. Stark, bleeding and broken, forced himself to his feet. "You didn't kill anyone. I altered your mind to cover my screw-up. Peter tried to save you. I wiped that. I planted guilt, rage, because I was scared of losing a god." The parasite twitched, uncomfortable. Confession weakened its grip. "You remember now," Tony said. "Don't you?" Thor's eyes flashed, not with lightning, but clarity. He remembered the real battle. Peter pulling him out of collapsing debris. The shield generator failing because of Stark's overload. Thor taking the hit. Peter calling for help. Then darkness. No betrayal. No lies. Just sacrifice. The parasite screamed. Thor stepped forward. "You fed on a false storm," he said. "Now face the one that's real." He didn't raise Stormbreaker. He raised his hand and summoned the raw, unfiltered thunder of his true self, not the god forged in pain, but the god awakened by truth. The bolt tore from the heavens, not through tech or hammer, but him. His body became lightning. The parasite shrieked as its form unraveled, stripped of stolen memories and lies. "You remember," it cried. "I do," Thor whispered, and brought the storm down. The parasite disintegrated, shattered into fragments of static that dissolved into nothing. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peace. Thor collapsed to one knee. Tony limped over, armor dragging sparks. "You good?" "No," Thor said, "but I'm me." They didn't speak more. They didn't need to. Later, in the ruins of the Helios command bridge, Thor stood alone. A quiet breeze moved across the stars. He reached into his belt and pulled out a piece of fabric. Red, torn, Peter's mask fragment. He clenched it tightly. "I will fix what was broken." Behind him, Friday whispered, "Would you like to record a memory, sir?" Thor nodded once. Yes. He closed his eyes. And for the first time since the storm began, he remembered everything.